advancing the conversation. Now let's talk about what cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency is, and there's lots of different cryptocurrencies. There's US currency, there's the Mexican peso, there's the Argentine peso, there's the euro, there's the Japanese yen. You understand there's different currencies? There's different cryptocurrencies. But you understand that all government-issued currencies work essentially the same way, right? All cryptocurrencies work essentially the same way. Now, as soon as I say that, there will be someone who will watch this recording and they will be starting to bang out an email to me before the sentence is over about how much I don't know what I don't know, and I will refer you back to the original premise of this conversation, which is no one really knows anything. I'm trying to give you a working understanding, not a technical understanding. All right? Conceptually, this is how cryptocurrency works. All right? Someone, and I'm going to talk about Bitcoin because it's just the most widely known right now. Someone, it doesn't matter who, decided, it doesn't matter why, that there would be 21 million Bitcoins. It doesn't matter why this person decided there would be only 21 million Bitcoins. They decided there would be only 21 million Bitcoins. They decided there would be only ever 21 million of these. All right? And unlike these, you can't make more of them.
Is that an actual number?
21 million is the actual number.
Okay.
Yeah.
21 million, and it was decided that they would be broken down into 1/100ths of a Bitcoin. So 21 million times 100 is 21 billion satoshis. Thank you. Trying to protect someone's identity in here. There's a $100 bill, there's a $50 bill, there's a $20 bill, there's a 5, a 1, and then we get down to quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, right? But there's only ever going to be 21 million $100 bills that we can break down into pieces. Got it? Well, we start off with Dustin has one of these Bitcoins. Everyone? Dustin has one Bitcoin. Everyone together. 1, 2, 3.
Dustin has one Bitcoin.
We all agree Dustin has one Bitcoin?
Yes.
You know why we agree Dustin has one Bitcoin? Because Dustin solved the mathematical formula that earned him that Bitcoin. Just like Larry took a shovel and dug into the ground and earned him an ounce of gold. Larry has an ounce of gold because he went into the ground and dug it out. Dustin has a Bitcoin because he went into the software and he solved the mathematical formula and he got a Bitcoin. That's how you get a Bitcoin. That's how you get gold, isn't it? Is there any other way to get gold besides digging it out of the ground? Or you buy it from someone else who already dug it. But the original source of the gold is digging it out of the ground. You all understand that? The original source of the Bitcoin, you dig it out of this code by solving a mathematical formula. You solve a mathematical formula, you get a Bitcoin. Dig enough in the ground, you get an ounce of gold. If you understand, that's all there is to it. It's not any more complicated than that. You're looking at me like it's more complicated than that. It's not any more complicated than that.
I just don't get
With
it.
the microphone.
Well, I just don't get it.
You don't get how to get gold?
I don't get.
You understand how to get gold out of the
Yes.
ground?
Yes.
You understand that if I'm more resourceful and I invest more time and I invest more energy and I dig and I dig and I dig and I dig, I'm going to eventually find some gold.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. If I interface with all these computers that have, that all agree that there's this mathematical formula that needs to be solved, and if I keep working and working and working and working at it, and I solve the mathematical formula, my reward is the program spits out a Bitcoin to me, a digital Bitcoin on a ledger, on a digital ledger.
But does solving the math is the mathematical formula like need to be solved for some other purpose?
No.
So I think I'm just holding on to the old system where it's like gold is what backs our currency, like what backs the Bitcoin.
You're misunderstanding. Gold is gold.
Yeah,
You're confusing the money with currency.
okay.
If I want a piece of gold,
Mm-hmm.
how do I get a piece of gold?
Dig it out.
I dig it out of the ground.
Yeah.
And then I have money.
Mm-hmm.
Gold is money. If I
Right.
want the money, I dig it out of the ground.
But it's valuable.
It's valuable because we agree it's valuable.
Okay.
It's only valuable because other people want it. It's only valuable because it doesn't erode, it doesn't corrode, it's hard to get, there's a limited supply of it, and other people want it. That's why it's valuable. How valuable would gold be if aliens beamed onto the planet and used some magic technology and suddenly doubled the gold supply? We have a new technology where aliens, we beam down to the planet, you foolish humans, human beings, have been using shovels to dig it out of the ground. We have this new technology where we just, boom,
So,
here's a pound of gold.
okay, so is solving the mathematical formula analogous to the digging?
Yes.
Okay,
exactly
I
what
get it,
is.
I get it, I get it.
But
Okay.
there's still only a limited.
Solving the mathematical formula is the digging.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
the digging and the
Yes.
digging and the digging and the digging. And when you get the formula right,
Yeah.
you find a big one.
I was thinking of it in a different way.
Okay, you all get the idea?
Yeah, and it gets incrementally harder every time someone
Go-
does it.
You're way ahead of where we need to be right now. You get the idea?
Yes.
Okay. The mathematical formula, by the way, is literally just a series of guesses. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and a quadrillion. Guess, what is it?
2.
Nope. Guess again.
4.89.
Keep going. They're whole numbers. 2. No.
100.
Nope. Next. Keep guessing.
Oh, okay. 79.
Nope.
84.
Nope.
103.
Nope.
A million.
Nope.
A million and 6.
Nope.
A million and
Nope.
10. 3.
Nope.
4.
Nope.
5.
Nope.
6.
Nope.
7.
Nope.
8.
Nope.
110.
Nope.
250.
You got it right. Here's the good point. That's literally the formula. The formula is literally just, it's a giant series of numbers, and you're just guessing and 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 guessing until you get the number. It's just processing power. You're just churning and 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 churning until you unlock the keys. You have imagine an alarm, imagine a code to a safe, right? And you're literally just guessing at combinations and guessing at combinations and guessing at combinations and to guess the right combination. When you eventually guess the right combination, the safe opens up, boom, you got a piece of Bitcoin. Got it?
Okay.
All right. I realize that I skipped a step. We need to talk about the money in your bank account. You all understand what it means when someone says, I have $100,000 or $1 million in my bank account, right?
Yes.
What does it mean to have in your bank account?
Nothing, probably.
Anyone?
It's a ledger.
It's a ledger,
Yeah.
right? The bank says you got $1 million. Your records say you have $1 million. The bank says you have $1 million. You say you have $1 million. The bank says you have $1 million. You have $1 million. Dustin's got $100,000 in his bank account. Everyone?
That's $100,000.
Okay.
Dustin tells the bank, I'm Dustin. You know I'm Dustin because I've got the secret password for my bank account. And I'm instructing you, the bank, to transfer 100,000 of my quote-unquote dollars to our job. The bank does what? The bank says, we are verifying that it's really you and that you're authorized to transfer this money from your ledger to our job ledger because you got the secret code to your account. And we are now transferring $100,000 from your ledger to our job ledger. And your ledger has now been adjusted, and Dustin now has how much? And Arjon now has how much? And then Arjon says to the bank, hey, it's you can tell that it's really me, and that you can verify that I have the authority to make this transaction, because I've got the secret code, and I'm telling you that I currently have I currently have $25,000 in my bank account on my ledger, and I want you to transfer 10 of it to Larry. And the bank says, boop, 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 we confirm you're really who you say you are, because you've got the secret code, and we're transferring 10 of your 25 to Larry, which leaves you with 15, and gives Larry 10. And then Larry identifies himself with the secret code, and the bank changes the ledger from Larry to Holly, from Holly to Aretha. And the bank is managing the entire ledger. And to the extent you trust the bank, you have no problem, do you? Unless, of course, you don't really trust the bank, in which case you don't feel completely comfortable with this whole ring, right? And like maybe you don't trust the bank because, I don't know, the bank is controlled by a government that is looking to oppress you because of your race, because of your religion, because of your political beliefs. Maybe you don't trust the bank because the bank is controlled by the government, which is trying to manipulate the people and prevent the people from leaving the country so that the government can continue to hold its citizens hostage. Does anyone know the last time that happened? Can anyone tell me the last time that happened, what I just described?
East Germany, Russia, what, they don't let people leave? That's
Throw her the microphone.
East Germany, Russia, Cuba.
When's the last time this happened?
The latest time they got Iraq.
When's the last time this happened?
2021, there's probably someplace in that, I mean, there's.
It's 10:45 Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, November 11th. That's the last time that happened. It's currently happening in China. It's currently happening in Venezuela. It's currently happening in Argentina. It's currently happening in countries all over the world. This is currently happening where the bank is saying, Dustin, you didn't vote right in the last election, and therefore, you don't get your fucking money. Fuck you. When Ali was growing up in Argentina, the military took over the government, and one day you went to the bank and you had $100,000. And the next day you went to the bank and you had $50,000 on the ledger. And you say, wait, hold on a second. You know, I'm old school. I print out my bank records, and this says $100,000. And they invited you to go talk to the man in the back room with the gun to resolve your dispute. This happened in Argentina to my wife's family. This isn't fiction. This is currently happening in countries all over this world right now. So, to the extent you're not so comfortable with a centralized banking system, you begin to appreciate the value of having a decentralized ledger system for managing your wealth and managing your money, where it's a whole bunch of random strangers who don't know each other and don't know you and don't know anything about you and are not passing judgment on your values, your worthiness, your political standing, your race, your religion, your political beliefs, your patronage to the government. They're just getting paid a couple of pennies to verify that your secret code, your key matches the other key, and boom, we advance the transaction into the blockchain and add to the blockchain. When you deal with this thing, it's blinking and distracting. You start to see the benefits of blockchain technology now? Yes? Okay, so cryptocurrency is just someone decided there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins. And someone decided that the way that a person mines the Bitcoin out of the ground is by guessing the right number in a quad something formula that takes a long time to just guess and guess and guess and guess. You get it? And because the rules of the game are that it will never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, ever be more than 21 million bitcoins. And Kristen and Megan said there's 21 million bitcoins, and Kristen said there's 21 million, and there's consensus. Every time there's a new addition made to the ledger, every time the blockchain gets repeated, everyone's agreeing and agreeing and agreeing and agreeing and agreeing and agreeing and agreeing on how many bitcoins there are in circulation, and who unlocked them, and when they unlocked them, and where they all are. And everything about this is constantly being repeated and agreed upon by everyone who's in the consensus circle. You all get the concept here? Yes? So now, when Dustin, who is a political dissident in Uganda, wants to pay Arjan, who is a Jew in Nazi Germany, who wants to pay Larry, who's a black man in some country where blacks don't have rights, we can all tell the government to fuck the fuck off because they don't know who anyone is, and it's a bunch of random strangers who are just verifying a bunch of digital ledger transactions in the cloud, and we're now transacting business, and we got currency, and we got money, and we're trading money. Are you seeing how exciting this is from a libertarian standpoint with human rights? Okay. Now let's talk about why and how this is so cool from a straight money supply. All right? There's soft money and there's hard money. Soft money is money that can be devalued by just printing more of it. Yeah? Hard money is something that actually has something hard backing it. Something that can't just be recreated whenever you want to recreate it. Yeah? Well,
Is there any of that left?
we're going to get to that.
I mean, I still have.
We're going to get to that. Don't get ahead. Just wait.
Sorry.
The rules apply to me. No, seriously, like, if I follow everyone's questions, we'll be here all day, and no one will understand anything. All right. So the really cool thing about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular, is it is the ultimate hard currency. Because there will never, ever, ever be more than 21 million Bitcoins mined out of the earth. Yeah? Which means it never can be devalued by just printing more of it. Pretty cool, right? Okay. Now, let's stop for a minute and just talk about cryptocurrency. We've talked about blockchain. Now we talk about cryptocurrency. Who's got cryptocurrency questions? Throw the microphone to Tom, please. Oh, you were like, oh, yeah.
I thought.
Who has a question about cryptocurrency? Sherry? Holly? Okay, Holly, go. Whoever's got a question, get the other microphone to you while Holly's asking a question.
So on to your point about it's the ultimate hard currency, there will never be more. Isn't there more every day? Because now we have like Dogecoin, I don't know if Jeff plays around with it, so I know that's what he's invested in.
That's a different kind of currency. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins.
Okay.
Imagine how great the economy would be in this country if there was only going to be ever a finite number of US dollars. Imagine if the United States Treasury couldn't just print more currency whenever they wanted to, thereby devaluing the currency.
So, because apparently my brain has to work in analogies, so like Bitcoin is the US dollar, Dogecoin would be like the euro?
There you go.
Okay, but if we can still use all of those in the same geographical location.
Only if people are willing to accept the Mexican pesos.
Okay.
Are you willing to accept a Mexican peso today? Yes or
No,
no? Okay, but if it went to Mexico, they would.
yeah,
Are you willing to accept a French franc right now in payment?
no.
But in France, they do.
Mhm.
Are you willing to, a client comes in and they need a divorce, and they say, money is no object, I'm rich, but I'm gonna pay you in Japanese yen.
Mhm.
What are you gonna say?
No.
Why not?
I would,
Because I prefer US currency.
yeah,
I'm gonna pay you in black Sharpie markers. Will you take that?
well, only if the tax people will still take this.
Only if you can pay your taxes,
Yes.
right? Some people will accept Bitcoin and they won't accept Dogecoin. Some people will accept Dogecoin and they won't accept Ethereum. Some people will accept Ethereum and Bitcoin, but they won't accept the Shiba. Some people will,
Okay.
it's just whatever currency you want. I mean, there's probably someone in this room who could give us a whole lesson on cryptocurrency trading if that person wanted to.
I don't agree with that analogy. Bitcoin is gold. I mean, that's the only way to equate it. And Dogecoin is truly like the US dollar because Dogecoin is a failing crypto and it's still out there, but it's a long story. But Dogecoin, they can just make more and more and more and more of.
Okay, I don't know enough about, see where I said that no one knows everything?
Yeah.
I didn't know that Dogecoin did not have a finite number of.
That's why I did the dollar. That's why I went down.
They started,
Okay, the point is, there's different kinds of cryptocurrency. Some have more value, and Tom, I think actually is a perfect analogy, because, you know, the US dollar, as shitty as it is as a form of money, it's a hell of a lot better than the Venezuelan peso, right? Some cryptocurrencies are stronger than others.
Right.
Is there like a sort of predicted implication when all of the Bitcoins
Yes.
have been mined?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so so I wasn't gonna talk about this later, but we'll talk about it now. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. There is a mathematical formula that gets done, basically guessing, to unlock Bitcoins. For mathematical reasons with a mathematical explanation that I can't explain in mathematical terms, the mathematical formula was set up such that there would be a very steady supply of Bitcoins mined every year. There's some regression formula, mathematical thing that you, as an engineer, could probably explain better than me if you
They're
studied
not
it.
all mined yet?
No, they're not all mined yet.
2.3 million
And here's the thing, every time a Bitcoin gets mined, it becomes harder to mine the next one. So the first ones were relatively easy to mine, and they're getting harder and harder and harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to mine. The final Bitcoin is projected to get mined in 2043, I think, something like that, right? But here's the thing about, and I mentioned earlier that next year is going to be a very exciting year, because when you're looking at money, there's a ratio of supply and new money being created, right? So there's a certain amount of gold on the planet that's ever been mined since the beginning of time. And there's a certain amount of gold being added to the gold supply every year. Got it? And it's precisely because there's so little extra gold being mined every year that makes gold hold its value, right?
Yeah.
There's something that I can't explain right now in technical terms, but the upshot of it is that in 2022, the end of 2022, this point will be be reached where the ratio, there will be a shift in the ratio of Bitcoin that's been mined and Bitcoin that's going to come on. It's going to it's like there's going to be less and less and less coming out relative to how much there is. In other words, it's going to start getting harder and harder and harder to get. Can you explain this? You're nodding your head like you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not understand that, but the more time goes on.
Hang on. Hold on. Wait.
So the value of crypto being mined, the value of Bitcoin being mined is going to be like.
So in 2008, the value of Bitcoin was $1, and today it's $64,000.
Yeah.
All right. So the technical term in economics terms is the stock to flow ratio. How much do you currently have in stock, and how much is flowing into the supply? Right? So there's a certain stock to flow ratio of gold. There's a certain stock to flow ratio of silver, et cetera, et cetera. And the lower the stock to flow ratio is, the harder the currency is, the harder the money is. You get what I'm saying? Or it might be exactly the opposite. It might be the higher the ratio. Wait. Just, you got the concept?
Getting closer to the point where no more money is being.
So just listen to this.
This creates a new type of asset, well suited for plans. There is no technical possibility for increasing the supply to match the increased demand. Should more people demand to hold Bitcoin, the only way to meet the demand is through appreciation of the existing supply. Because each Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million Satoshis, there is plenty of room for the growth of Bitcoin through the use of ever smaller units of it as the value appreciates. This creates a new type of asset, well suited for playing the role of store of value. Until Bitcoin's invention, all forms of money were unlimited in their quantity, and thus imperfect in their ability to store value across time. Bitcoin's immutable monetary supply makes it the best medium to store the value produced from the limited human time, thus making it arguably the best store of value humanity has ever invented. To put it differently, Bitcoin is the cheapest way to buy the future, because Bitcoin is the only medium guaranteed to not be debased, no matter how much its value rises. In 2018, with Bitcoin only 9 years old, it has already been adopted by millions worldwide, and its current supply growth rates compares with that of the global reserve currencies. In terms of the stock-to-flow ratio discussed in Chapter 1, the existing stockpiles of Bitcoin in 2017 were around 25 times larger than the new coins produced in 2017. This is still less than half of the ratio for gold, but around the year 2022, Bitcoin's stock-to-flow ratio will overtake that of gold, and by 2025, it will be around double that of gold, continue to increase quickly into the future, while that of gold stays roughly the same, given the dynamics of gold mining discussed in Chapter 3. Around the year 2140, there will be no new supply of Bitcoin, and the stock-to-flow ratio becomes infinite, the first time any commodity or good has achieved this. An important implication of the reduced supply of Bitcoins and the continuously diminishing rate at which the supply grows is to make the supply of existing Bitcoins very large compared to the new supply. In that sense, Bitcoin mining is similar to gold mining, thus ensuring that as a monetary medium, relatively less time and effort would go towards securing new supplies of Bitcoin than other monies whose supply can be increased easily, and more time and effort is dedicated toward useful economic production, which can then be exchanged for Bitcoins.
All right, so welcome to the last 2 months of my life. All right. The point is that because the mathematical rate at which the Bitcoins are being mined and unlocked is what it is, we know that sometime in the middle of 2022, the stock-to-flow ratio of Bitcoin will actually match or surpass gold, which, if you study economics and you think that people are means that the value of Bitcoin should go up dramatically, like a lot, end of next year. Okay.
So it seems to me that there would be people who are dumping a whole lot of money into mining.
There are, and it gets harder and harder and harder to mine, and the rewards get lower and lower and lower as it gets harder and harder and harder to get a Bitcoin. Yes, the answer is yes. There are people who have entire server farms dedicated to doing nothing but trying to mine for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin today is trading at about $60,000 US per Bitcoin. A year ago, it was 40,000. 5 years ago, it was $7,000.
Maybe less. 2017, I bought it for 900.
2017, he bought Bitcoin for $900. Now it's $60,000. I have a friend who saw me talking about this, and he said he bought a Bitcoin in 2014 for, he doesn't know how many Bitcoins he got. All he knows is he threw $1,000 in. And it ended up that I think he's got like 2 Bitcoins. And I was like, hey, you're sitting on probably about $120,000. He's like, fuck me. He couldn't believe it.
That's what Jeff did too. I don't think he went way up.
Well, I wouldn't sell it because I think it's going to go up a lot.
Yeah.
All right, but here's the thing. Now we're drifting into currency trading, which is what I'm trying to keep you away from. I am excited about this because I think that it's a better way, it's a better form of money. And yes, we'll have appreciation and appreciation and appreciation against the US dollar. But what happens when people are no longer using the US dollar because you can get everything you want with Bitcoin? Because right now you can get a Tesla with Bitcoin, you can buy a lot of professional services with Bitcoin. Come January, you can pay me with Bitcoin. I got to work out some accounting and tax issues. I mean, at some point, the world is going to reach a point where you're no longer asking. I mean, none of you asked me when I said, can I pay you with the US dollar? None of you said, well, how's the dollar trading against the yen? And then I'll decide. Right? You evaluate the utility of having a US dollar based on what you can do with the US dollar. We're not there yet, but we will eventually, I believe, be at a point where you evaluate the utility of having a Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin purely based on the utility of what you can do. And then you start having an economy based on a different kind of money. Yes?
So then the implication for the US dollar is not good.
The implication for the US dollar is terrible, which is precisely why governments around the world are doing everything they can to shut this down, and have been for years. Because the US dollar will not be in as much demand when Bitcoin or something like that becomes the new standard, right? And how is the US government supposed to tax it when you have no idea who's doing what or where it's coming from? Throw the microphone to Tom, whoever's in, which is precisely why the infrastructure bill that just passed, I think, the Senate, is 2,700 pages long, and there's 8 sentences in the U.S. infrastructure bill, which has imposed, you know that right now, if you receive more than $10,000 US in cash, you are required to report that, or you're subject to a felony.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes. Yeah.
If this infrastructure bill passes, which I think it will, like in the next couple weeks, you will be subject to a $25,000 up a minimum, either a minimum or up to, but a $25,000 fine, and a felony if you don't report the receipt of $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency or NFTs, and we haven't even talked about NFTs yet. And once you understand what an NFT is, you'll understand just how scared the government is about the fact that they're going to lose control of the economy.
How could they audit that?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So,
Life's up.
Larry went to Cuba with us when we went to Cuba back in 2016. And here's the interesting thing about oppressive governments. In Cuba, so in this country, this is like something that's so hard to wrap your head around if you grew up in this country. Who grew up here? Anyone not grow up here? Grow up somewhere else? Okay, this is something that's so hard to wrap your head around. In this country, you are allowed to do anything you want to do unless there's a specific law that says you can't. Right? You can do anything you want in your business unless there's a specific law that says you can't do it. Y'all understand the concept? Yes, yes, yes? All right? In Cuba, it works the other way around. In Cuba, if you run a business, a restaurant for example, you're only allowed to do what the law specifically authorizes you to do. And if you do something that is not specifically authorized, boom, you're in violation of law. You could be fined, you could be penalized, you could be put in jail. Got it? So show me in the law where it says you're allowed to clean up the baby vomit when the baby vomits on the floor. Well, there isn't one, is there?
There's no way to comply.
And you cleaned up that baby vomit. Therefore, you are in violation of law, which means the government can now fine you, penalize you, put you in jail. This is how communist and socialist and oppressive regimes work. They create laws and rules and regulations that are impossible to comply with, so that everyone is always subject to penalty and enforcement. So, what's going to happen, Tom, in my opinion, is exactly what happened in Cuba, which is you have two parallel economies. You've got the economy that everyone knows about and everyone reports, and then you got the other economy. And everyone ends up basically being a criminal, because everyone effectively lives in the other economy, because that's the only place you can live well. I don't want to let this turn into a whole political, philosophical conversation, because I still haven't even taught anyone what an NFT is.
I have one question unrelated to that. So with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all the other cryptos, I read a while ago, I didn't really read much about it further, but I thought the Federal Reserve was coming out with their own coin to compete with Bitcoin. It was supposed to be the Bitcoin killer. Have you heard anything about that at this event?
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're going to try.
That's what it was supposed to come out in October, but whatever, it happened in the summer.
But as a practical matter, if you had a choice
Yeah, how to use it.
between using a cryptocurrency that has all of the characteristics that you don't like about US currency, it's just digital. I mean, I'm sure there will be people who will adopt it.
Right, I mean, most of the country, I think, would adopt the Federal Reserve backed coin just because it's backed by the United States government. Which
Some will, some won't.
Right, and there'll always be
But the utility,
the right side of the country and the left side of the country that won't.
look, the utility value, the benefits of Bitcoin or Ethereum are what they are. And the thing that the US government is going to have a problem with, which is the thing I have against all bar associations also, by the way, is that, and I'm talking about state bars, not county bars. See, state bars require admission. You're not allowed to practice law in your state unless you are a member of your state bar, right? They don't have to give you great service. They don't have to give you great value. They don't have to give you shit. They give you permission to exist. And for that, you're subject to all the rules and regulations. Yes? Your county bar has to actually earn your business, don't they? It's voluntary. You don't have to be a member of your county bar. Hey, I think you should be a member of our county bar association. Well, you're free to come and try to earn my business. If you show me enough value, I will join your county bar association, right? Think about how telling it is that Bitcoin has grown as big as it has in the last 9 years with no rules of enforcement. No one's forcing us to use it. People choose to use it. Anyway, I digress. I gotta talk about NFTs because there's a whole universe we haven't even stepped into, right? We're about to step into a whole new universe here. Do we want to take a quick bathroom break?
Yes.
Quick bathroom break, we come back, we do NFTs. And then we talk about smart contracts. And then we talk about how this is going to affect your business, the opportunities for you.